Okay, good morning, class. Screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Great. Thank you. So, I apologize for the 5 minutes delay. Actually, uh, yesterday was the festival and I could not wake up on time. I got late. So, no worries. Let's start. We are just only 5 minutes late, so we will cover all the chapter. Hmm? Yes. Now, new chapter is the Employees Provident Fund and the Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. Okay. Before yesterday, the class was for ESI. Is there any question? Please feel free to ask. Any question in the ESI? Have you studied? Have you read it at your home? Revised your chapter? See class, whatever taught in the class, please revise on the same day at your home also, because it will be memorized to you, right? ये आपको याद रहेगा, otherwise you will forget all the things if you delay in revision. Okay, fine. So now let's start the Employees Provident Fund. What is a Provident Fund? Firstly, we have to understand what is the purpose of this act. See, a employee is employed in the organization. He do works for the organization. Company says that if a person is employed in our organization, he should be provided for some provident fund or for some savings, right, for his future, for unseen emergencies, है ना? He should be provided some financial commitment. It's like a saving in the pension fund, deposit linked insurance fund, or provident fund. There is 3 schemes which are framed by the government. Which are framed by the government. Which government? Central government. Number 1, Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, Employees Pension Scheme 1995, or the Employees Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme 1976. There are 3 schemes. Employees Provident Fund Scheme, highlight this line, right? These are important for your exam purpose. There are 3 schemes which has been framed under the act by the central government. Number 1, Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, Employees Pension Scheme 1995, Employees Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme 1976. And these 3 schemes mentioned above confer significant social security benefits to the workers and their dependents. All these 3 schemes which are mentioned, which 3 schemes? Again, Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, Employees Pension Scheme 1995, or Employees Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme 1976. These 3 schemes gives the significant social security benefits to the workers and their dependents. These schemes taken together provide to the employees on an old age and survivor benefits, right, for saving purpose, for their future purpose. This scheme can give them old age and survivor benefits, long-term protection and securities to the employees after his death, to his family members, and it gives the timely advances, including advances during sicknesses, for the purchase, construction of a dwelling house during the period of membership. Clear? Basically, long-term protection and for the security these schemes was framed, and after his death to his family members and timely advances during sicknesses, and for the purchase construction of a dwelling house during the period of membership. And this act is now applicable to employees drawing pay not exceeding 15,000 rupees per month. Now the new term is defined that these schemes will be applicable only those employees who yes class now audible. This act is now applicable to employees drawing pay not exceeding 15,000 rupees per month. Now this term has been defined for the applicability. Highlight this line. Highlight this line. This act is now applicable to employees to drawing pay not exceeding 15,000 rupees per month, and this act also extend to whole of India. Applicability to whole of India. Objectives, I have already told you, to provide social security to the member after retirement, provide social security to the beneficiaries of the member, and to provide mechanism for the implementation of scheme. Now the applicability. To every establishment which a factory engaged in any industries specific in schedule first and in which 20 or more persons are employed. So yes, to every establishment which is a factory engaged in any industry specified in schedule first and in which 20 or more persons are employed. Clear? And to any other establishment which is employing 20 or more persons. Means first line. This act will be applicable to all factories, all establishment in which 20 or more persons are employed. And to any other establishment, 20 or more person or class of such establishment which the central government may by notification in the official gazette specify in this behalf. To any other establishment employing 20 or more person of such establishment which the central government may by notification in the official gazette specify in this behalf. Now third term, what says third term? Central government may apply the provision of this act to any establishment. Central government has a discretion power, has a power. It may apply or no, but if they may apply, it may apply if a person less than 20 as may be specified in the notification, but it will give 2 month notice to such establishment. Yes, central government will give notice for the applicability. Yes, class. Central government, yes, I have told you, but it should be the central government should give 2 months notice before application of that key that we will apply the provident fund if the employees are less than 20. Clear? Number 4, where it appears to the Central Provident Fund Commissioner that the employer and majority of the employees have agreed that the provision of this act should be made applicable to their establishment, he may by notification apply the provision of this act to that establishment on and from the date of such agreement or from any subsequent date specified in such agreement. Where the Central Provident Fund Commission thinks that the employer and the majority of employees mutually agreed that it should be applicable, provident fund should be applicable on their establishment, they may apply the provision of this act to that establishment. Clear? But it should be after by the notification. And yes, highlight the last line, important. Once the act is applicable to any establishment, it shall continue to apply, notwithstanding the number of the person employed therein shall at any time falls below 20. It doesn't matter if once it is applicable, then it will be the applicable. Yes, there are some organizations or some terms where the provident fund is not applicable. There are some departments where the provident fund is not applicable. Uh, Class, is there any query? No, okay. So what departments are there where the act this act is not applicable? Number 1, to any establishment which is registered under the Cooperative Societies Act 1912 or under any other law for the time being in force in any state relating to cooperative societies where employment is less than 50 persons and working without the aid of power. Without the aid of power means, see, there are the two types of labor. Number 1, the labor who works manually. Number 2, the labor who works with the aid of power, electricity, generator, right? Or by machine, by helping the machine, by taking help of the machines. There are two types of labor. So this act will not be applicable to the cooperative societies. To the cooperative societies 1912 or under any other law for the time being in force in any state relating to cooperative society which are employed 50% less than 50% or working without the aid of power, or to any other establishment belongs to the under the control of the central government or a state government and whose employees are entitled to the benefit of contributory provident fund or old age pension in accordance with any scheme or rule framed by the central government or the state government governing such benefits. Any other establishment which belongs to the central government or under the central government or state government which are entitled to the benefit of contributory provident fund or old age pension in accordance. Basically, those establishments who belongs to the governments, they already take the benefit of the old age pension scheme or the provident fund scheme, which are run by the central government only, right? They cannot take provident fund scheme benefit. It will be the dual benefit, na? That's why. So to any establishment which is set up under the central provision or state government whose employees are entitled to the benefits of contributory provident fund and old age pension in accordance with any scheme or rule framed under that act governing such a benefit. So in that case, there should be non-applicability of PF Act. Now there are some key definitions. First of all, for this act, we should understand what is the factory. Factory means as any premises includes the precincts. Precincts means boundaries thereof or in any part of which a manufacturing process is being carried on or is ordinarily so carried on. And whether the aid of power or without the aid of power, where any manufacturing process is being done and a premises, including its boundary, will be also deemed in the definition of factory. Now the employer. Who is the employer? In relation to an establishment which is a factory, owner or occupier, agent of such owner or occupier, legal representative of a deceased owner or occupier, a person named as manager of the factory under the Factories Act will be treated as employer. And in relation to any other establishment, persons who have ultimate control over the affairs of the establishment and the manager or managing director to whom the affairs of the establishment are being entrusted. This will be they will be treated as employer. And who is the employee? Section 2F. Employees means the persons who are employed for wages. They are getting wages whether directly or indirectly from the employer. Directly is giving by the employer, and indirectly, who will tell what is the meaning of indirectly here? The person who is getting wages indirectly from the employer. What is that mean? Anyone? Any student? No. It means through contractor or through any third party, है ना? Who third party maybe the person who are managing the property management services, who are engaging right through any third party or contractor. So in any kind, and employee means who is employed for the wages, if they are getting wages directly or indirectly from the employer for any kind of work, whether manual or otherwise, or in connection with the work of the establishment. And employee also includes any person who is employed by or through a contractor or engaged as an apprentice. Apprentice means trainee. They will be also included in the definition of employee. Now the meaning of wages. Wages. All emoluments which is earned by an employee in accordance with the terms of employment, which are paid to him while on duty, on leave with wages, on holiday with wages. All emoluments which has been earned by an employee in accordance with the terms of employment and which are paid to him whether he is on duty, whether he is on leave with wages, on holiday with wages. And basic wage doesn't include cash value of any food concession, dinners allowance, house rent allowance, overtime allowance, bonus, commission, or any other allowance, gifts, and present from the employer. Mark this important कि what the basic wages is not included in the definition of the Provident Fund. It will not include cash value of food concession, DNS allowance, house rent allowance, overtime allowance, bonus, commission, or any other allowance, gifts or present from the employer. Clear? And contribution. Contribution defined as a contribution payable in respect of a member under a scheme or the contribution payable in respect of an employee to whom the insurance scheme applies. Right? So this is called the contribution. Now we will study the thieves scheme. In starting we have read the schemes now. So there are three types of scheme for the benefit of employees. Number one, employees provident fund scheme. Number two, employees pension scheme. And number three, employees deposit linked insurance scheme. So number one, employees provident fund scheme. Page number 247. So employees provident fund scheme, section 5 of the Provident Fund Act. Central government framed a scheme called the Employees Provident Fund Scheme. In short, it is called the scheme for the establishment of provident funds for the employees. Central government framed the Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, which came into effect Section 5 provides that the central government framed a scheme which is called the Employees Provident Fund Scheme. In short, it is called the scheme for the establishment of Provident Fund for employees. The central government framed the Employees Provident Fund Scheme 1952, which came into effect from 2nd September 1952. So the fund shall vest in and be administered by the central. The fund shall vest in and be administered by the central board constituted under section 5A of this act, and this scheme is framed may provide for any all or any other matter specified in schedule 2, and this scheme may provide that any of the provisions shall take either prospectively or retrospectively on such date may be specified in this scheme. Now, how it will work? So it will be worked by the contribution. Now, what rate of contribution? See, just like an insurance, ESI, employee state insurance, employer also made contribution, employee also made contribution, right? In that case, same thing, employer and employee will make the contribution. How? As per section 6, the contribution which shall be paid by the employer to the fund shall be 10% of the basic wages, dearness allowance and retaining allowance, if any, for the time being payable to each of employees, whether employed by him directly or through a contractor. And employees contribution, what will be the employees contribution? Equal to the contribution payable by the employer. In that case, provident fund scheme, equal contribution will be made by employer or employee. Clear? And what percentage? 10% of the basic wage, dearness allowance and retaining allowance. But if employees wants that they should make contribution exceeds the prescribed rate, they may contribute, but the condition is that employer shall not be under any obligation to contribute over and above the contribution payable as prescribed by the central government from time to time under this act. It doesn't necessary that if I am doing exit contribution, you should do exit contribution. No, employer will not be under any obligation to contribute exceed contribution. Clear? Now the central government has raised the rate of provident fund contribution from current 8.33% to 10% in general, and in cases of establishment especially notified by the government from 10% to 12% with effect from 22 September 1997. Clear? First it was 8.33, then raised 10% in general, and in case of establishment especially notified by the central government from 10% to 12%. So each contribution shall be calculated to nearest rupees, means round off figure will be done. So each contribution shall be calculated to the nearest rupees 50 paise or more, to be counted as the higher rupee or fraction of rupee less than 50 paise to be ignored. So dearness allowance shall include the cash value of any food concession which is allowed to an employee, and retaining allowance is the allowance which is payable to an employee for retaining his services when the establishment is not working. So the Provident Fund scheme has made the payment of contribution mandatory and not provide for no exception under a specified employer can avoid his mandatory liability. Wage limit. What should be the wage limit for applicability of this act? 15,000. Contribution is paid when the employer and employee is mutually agreed, and the limit is the 15,000. To pay on a contribution on higher wages, joint request from employee and employer is required. In such case, employer has to pay administrative charges on the higher wages. For the international worker, wage ceiling is 15,000 is not applicable. Clear? Any question? Now, second scheme, employees pension scheme. Employees pension scheme. Central government framed employees pension scheme for the purpose of providing superannuation pension. What is the superannuation? Who will tell? Superannuation. There are some previous classes students also, I have told you in that class, Tejaswini and Jami Prasad Rao. Please tell what is a superannuation? Like that, it is retirement, but before the specified age, right? But before the specified age. So the central government framed employees pension scheme for the purpose of providing for superannuation pension, retiring pension, or permanent total disablement pension to the employees of any establishment or class of establishment to which this act applies. Widow or widow's pension, children pension, or orphan pension payable to the beneficiary of such employees. So the pension scheme may provide for all or any of its provision shall take effect either prospectively or retrospectively on such date as may be specified in that scheme. Clear? So basically this pension scheme is made for the purpose of superannuation pension, retiring pension, permanent total disabled pension, है ना? Widow or widower's pension, children pension, or orphan pension, which is payable to the beneficiary of such employees. Contribution, no contribution from the employee. There is no contribution. Employer has to contribute 8.33% of the basic wages, dearness allowance, and the retaining allowance, if any, of the concerned employees as may be specified in the pension scheme. And the contribution is not payable when the employee crosses 58 years, since the scheme ceases on the completion of 58 years. ना? तो ये superannuation scheme हो गई. Now the third scheme, deposit linked insurance scheme. Last but not least, deposit linked insurance scheme. The central government made the employers deposit linked scheme 1976, which came into effect from 1st September 1976. It applies to all factories and other establishments to which the act applies except tea factories in the state of Assam. Once again, we will read. Central government made the employees deposit linked scheme 1976, which came into effect from 1st September 1976. It applies to all factories and all other establishments to which act applies, but this act will not be applied to tea factories in the state of Assam. Base ceiling limit under employees deposit linked insurance scheme is 15,000 rupees, and insurance benefit scheme shall be amount to 2.5 lakh to 6 lakh. Clear? Wages should be 15,000 rupees or more, or insurance benefit will be given in the range of 2.5 to 6 lakhs. Clear? Now the contribution. How much the contribution will be made for availing the benefit of deposit linked insurance scheme? Deposit linked insurance fund has been created for this purpose. In this fund, the employer shall pay such amount not being more than 1% of the aggregate of the basic wages, dearness allowance, and the retaining allowance. Once again study. In this fund, employer who will pay, employer shall pay such amount for not being than 1%. Highlight this line. Only 1% of the aggregate of the basic wages, dearness allowance, and retaining allowance of every such employees, in relation to whom he is not the employer. And the employer shall pay into the insurance fund and the such further amount of money not exceeding 1/4 of the contribution which is required to make as the central government may from time to time determine to meet all the expenses in connection with the administration of the scheme, other than the expenses towards the cost of any benefits provided by or under the scheme. So where the monthly pay of an employee exceeds rupees 15,000 rupees, the contribution payable is restricted to the amounts payable on a monthly pay of rupees 15,000. Day allowance, retaining allowance, and cash value of food concession. Clear? Clear? Any question? Any question? Yes, Tejaswini, please. Yes, I told you na in the starting. Yes, there is a limit. Open the page number 243 where the chapter is started. Object, see, object before the objective. This act is now applicable to employees who is doing pay not exceeding 15,000 rupees per month. This act extends to whole of India. Okay, got it? ₹15,000. Any other question? Basic wages, beta. Basic. Okay. So now concluding our classes. Today chapter is over. Yeah, tomorrow we will read the payment of bonus act. Okay. So we will meet tomorrow at 7 a.m. Till then, please study at your home. Also revise that chapter. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. We will meet tomorrow at 7 a.m. Krishna blessings.